My boyfriend prioritized his ex at my birthday dinner until his best friend said, "You're my priority tonight." He regretted everything. Marcus had promised me a special birthday dinner at Rosewood, this upscale steakhouse I'd been wanting to try for months. He'd made reservations for just the two of us, told me to dress up, said he wanted to celebrate me properly since I'd been working so hard on my nursing boards. I wore the blue dress he'd once said made my eyes look incredible, spent an hour on my makeup, and felt genuinely excited for the first time in weeks. We got to the restaurant at 7, and everything started perfectly. Marcus pulled out my chair, ordered a bottle of wine, told me I looked beautiful. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his whole face changed. His ex-girlfriend Simone was at the bar with friends and had just spotted us. Before I could even process what that meant, she was walking over to our table, all blonde hair and perfect smile, wearing a dress that probably cost more than my rent. Marcus stood up immediately to hug her, and that hug lasted about 5 seconds too long for my comfort. Simone insisted on joining us for a drink, just one, and somehow Marcus was already pulling over a chair from the empty table next to ours before I could say anything. She sat down and immediately started talking about their college days. Remember when we did this, remember when we did that, laughing at inside jokes I wasn't part of. Marcus laughed right along with her, his attention completely focused on her face like I'd vanished from the table. I tried to join the conversation a few times, but Simone would talk over me or Marcus wouldn't hear me because he was too busy reminiscing. The waiter came to take our order and I picked the cheapest entree, even though Marcus had told me to get whatever I wanted, because suddenly this didn't feel like my special dinner anymore. Marcus ordered the ribeye, Simone ordered the salmon, and they spent 10 minutes comparing notes about the wine list while I sat there feeling invisible. My phone showed 7.45, we'd been at dinner for 45 minutes, and Marcus had barely looked at me. Simone's one drink turned into 2, then 3. She kept touching Marcus's arm when she talked, and he didn't pull away. At one point, she asked if he remembered their trip to Costa Rica, and he launched into this whole story about ziplining and beach sunsets. This whole romantic vacation I'd never heard about before. I excused myself to the bathroom and stayed there for 10 minutes, staring at my reflection and trying not to cry. This was supposed to be my birthday. When I came back, Marcus and Simone were looking at photos on her phone, their heads close together. Neither of them noticed me sit back down. The food arrived, and Marcus finally acknowledged my existence long enough to ask if my chicken was good. I said it was fine, even though I'd barely tasted it. Then Simone mentioned she was between apartments, and Marcus offered to help her move next weekend without even checking with me first, even though we'd already planned to visit my parents. I put my fork down and stared at him, waiting for him to realize what he'd just done. He didn't notice. That's when Marcus's best friend Jason appeared at our table. He texted earlier asking where we were, saying he wanted to drop off my birthday gift. Jason took one look at the situation, at Simone sitting way too close to Marcus, at me sitting there looking miserable, and his jaw tightened. He pulled up a chair next to me and said something I'll never forget. "You're my priority tonight," he said loudly enough that Marcus and Simone both stopped talking. "It's your birthday and you deserve better than this." Marcus finally looked at me, really looked at me, and saw my eyes were red from holding back tears. His face went pale as he realized what the past 2 hours must have looked like. Jason started talking to me about my nursing boards, asked about the study group I'd mentioned, actually listened when I answered. Marcus tried to join the conversation, but Jason literally turned his shoulder to block him out. Simone got uncomfortable and said she should probably get back to her friends. After she left, Marcus reached for my hand across the table. "Babe, I'm so sorry. I got caught up and I wasn't thinking." I pulled my hand back. Jason stood up and suggested we leave, said he knew a great dessert place that was actually fun. Marcus protested, said we needed to talk, but I was already standing up. I grabbed my purse and walked out with Jason, leaving Marcus sitting there alone with 2 half-eaten steaks and a table full of regret. In the parking lot, Jason told me something about Marcus and Simone that completely changed how I saw everything that had just happened, and that's when things took a turn I never expected. They dated for 3 years, Jason says as soon as we're out of earshot of the restaurant. We're standing between our cars in the Rosewood parking lot, the fancy restaurant lights casting long shadows across the asphalt. I wrap my arms around myself, suddenly cold despite the mild evening. 3 years? I repeat, my voice hollow. Marcus told me they dated casually in college. Jason's laugh is bitter. Casually, they lived together for 2 of those years. They were practically engaged. My stomach drops. When did they break up? 6 months before he met you. Jason runs a hand through his hair, looking like he's debating whether to continue. Simone dumped him for some hedge fund manager with a penthouse and a Ferrari. Marcus was completely destroyed. The pieces clicked together in my head like a terrible puzzle. 6 months. Just enough time for Marcus to patch himself up before meeting me. Not enough time to actually heal. He never got over her, did he? I ask, already knowing the answer. Jason hesitates, then shakes his head. I've watched him drop everything when she calls for the past year. I kept hoping he'd move on, that you would be enough. He stops, wincing at his own words. That came out wrong. No, it's fine. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Clearly I'm not enough. My phone buzzes in my purse. Marcus, undoubtedly. I ignore it. "Let me take you somewhere else," Jason says. "There's this place called Sweet Remedy, a few blocks from here. Best desserts in the city, and you deserve something sweet after that." He gestures back toward Rosewood. I nod, too emotionally exhausted to argue. "I'll follow you there." 10 minutes later, we're sitting in a cozy corner booth at Sweet Remedy, a charming little dessert cafe with twinkling lights strung across the ceiling and the scent of chocolate and cinnamon in the air. It's the exact opposite of Rosewood's cold elegance. A massive slice of chocolate cake sits between us, 2 forks stuck in its layers. I haven't touched mine yet. "I should have said something sooner," Jason says, breaking the silence. "I've noticed how he acts around her for months, but I thought it would fade." "I think I knew, I admit. There have been other incidents." Jason raises an eyebrow, waiting. "Last month, we were supposed to go to a concert I'd been excited about for weeks. Simone called because her car broke down, and he left to help her. Missed the whole show. I take a small bite of cake. 2 weeks ago, we were having dinner at his apartment, and she FaceTimed him. He talked to her for an hour while our food got cold." Jason winces. "I'm sorry." And the worst part is I kept making excuses for him, telling myself they were just friends, that I was being insecure. I set my fork down. But friends don't look at each other the way he looks at her. Jason's phone lights up with a text. He glances at it and his expression hardens. "Marcus?" I ask. He nods, wants to know where we are, says he needs to explain. What's there to explain? My voice cracks slightly. That he's still in love with his ex? My own phone has been buzzing nonstop in my purse. I pull it out to see 15 missed calls from Marcus. Without hesitation, I power it off completely. You shouldn't go home tonight, Jason says after a moment. He'll just try to minimize what happened, make you doubt what you saw with your own eyes. I don't have anywhere else to go. I admit, my roommate moved out last month, which is why I've been staying at Marcus's place most nights. My sister Emma has a spare bedroom in her apartment, Jason offers. She's cool, works night shifts as an ER nurse, so she won't even be there tonight. You can stay there. Clear your head. I consider it for a moment, then nod. The thought of facing Marcus tonight, of listening to his excuses while the image of him leaning close to Simone is still fresh in my mind, makes me feel physically ill. Thank you, I say, meeting Jason's eyes. For the cake, for getting me out of there, for being honest with me. That's what friends do, he says simply. They make you a priority when you need it most. The word priority hits me hard, reminding me of what Jason said at the restaurant. You're my priority tonight. Words Marcus should have said, but didn't. Words I'm starting to realize he might never mean, not as long as Simone is in the picture. Let's get you to Emma's, Jason says, leaving cash for the dessert. Tomorrow's a new day. However, as we walk out of Sweet Remedy, I realize that tomorrow really will be new, the first day I'll face with complete clarity about who Marcus really is and what I truly deserve. Emma's apartment is a cozy one-bedroom with plants everywhere and a tiny spare room that's basically a glorified closet with a futon, but it feels like sanctuary after the disaster at Rosewood. I've been here for 2 days, living out of the emergency overnight bag I keep in my car, trying to focus on my nursing textbooks instead of the constant buzzing of my phone. Another flower delivery, Emma announces, walking into the living room where I'm curled up with my pharmacology notes. She's still in her scrubs from her night shift, dark circles under her eyes, but she's smiling as she sets down a vase of pink peonies. That makes 3 in 2 days. Your boyfriend's getting desperate. He's not I stop myself. I don't know what Marcus is to me anymore. I pick up the small card attached to the flowers. Asterisk, I'm so sorry. Please call me. We need to talk. M asterisk. It's almost identical to the cards that came with the roses yesterday and the lilies this morning. I toss it onto the coffee table with the others. Jason said Marcus has called him 8 times, Emma says, collapsing into the armchair across from me. Wanted to know if you were staying here. What did Jason tell him? I told him to give you space. She kicks off her shoes. Smart move, by the way, turning your phone back on, but keeping it on silent. 57 texts and counting? 63 now, I correct her, glancing at my screen, plus 28 missed calls. Most of the messages follow the same pattern. Asterisk, I'm sorry. It wasn't what it looked like. Please call me. I miss you. We need to talk. Asterisk. I've read them all but haven't responded to any. I need to get my things from Marcus's apartment, though. My nursing board exam is in 3 weeks, and most of my study materials are still there, along with clothes I actually need. I think I'm ready to go back, I tell Emma, just to get my stuff. She sits up straighter. Want me to come with you? No, it's fine. I need to do this myself. I close my textbook. Besides, you need sleep. You look like you're about to pass out. 12-hour shifts will do that to you, she yawns. But if you change your mind, just text me. I can be there in 20 minutes. I drive to Marcus's apartment with a knot in my stomach, rehearsing what I'll say if he's home. I'm just here for my things. I need space. We can talk later. Simple, direct, no room for discussion. What I don't expect when I unlock the door is to find Marcus and Simone sitting together on the couch, heads bent over a laptop. They both look up when I enter, and the shock on Marcus's face would be comical if I wasn't so furious. He jumps to his feet. Babe, you're back. He moves toward me like he's going to hug me, then seems to think better of it. I've been trying to reach you. I can see that, I say, my voice surprisingly steady. I nod at Simone. Hi, identify to the Crately. Hey, she says, looking almost sheepish. She closes the laptop. I was just stopping by to talk about the move next weekend. Of course she was. The move he prioritized over visiting my parents. Don't let me interrupt, I say, walking past them toward the bedroom. I'm just here to get some things. Marcus follows me. Wait, can we talk, please? I've been worried sick about you. Not now, Marcus. I pull my suitcase from the closet and start filling it with clothes, textbooks, my study guides. Where have you been staying? He asks, hovering in the doorway. With a friend. Jason's sister? His tone shifts, a hint of accusation creeping in. Jason won't tell me anything. Good for Jason, I mutter, grabbing my laptop charger from the nightstand. Look, I know I messed up at dinner, Marcus says, running a hand through his hair. I got caught up seeing Simone again, and I wasn't thinking. But you disappeared for 2 days. You wouldn't answer my calls or texts. I thought something happened to you. Stop packing and look at him directly. Something did happen to me, Marcus. My boyfriend ignored me on my birthday to fawn over his ex-girlfriend, the same ex-girlfriend who's sitting in our living room right now. She just stopped by to coordinate. The move, I heard. I zip up my suitcase. The move that's happening the same weekend we were supposed to visit my parents. His face falls. About that, I called your mom yesterday to explain we couldn't make it. The blood drains from my face. You what? I had to. We had plans with your parents and I needed to let them know. It is not as all tannin as a rest accepting. Some tame and then be used because of the Moser Curdy Suggs. So you canceled our plans without even talking to me first? My voice rises. Just like you made plans with Simone without checking with me? I thought you wouldn't mind, he says, looking genuinely confused. Simone really needs the help, and Simone's needs are more important than mine. Got it. I grab my toiletry bag from the bathroom. That's not fair, Marcus protests, following me. Jason filled your head with all this stuff about me and Simone, but he doesn't understand our relationship. I laugh bitterly. Actually, he explained it perfectly. 3 years together, practically engaged. She dumped you for a hedge fund guy 6 months before you met me. Marcus's face pales. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I challenge him. Before he can answer, Simone appears in the doorway. I should probably go, she says awkwardly. No, stay, I tell her, hefting my suitcase. I'm leaving anyway. For what it's worth, Simone says. Ryan and I broke up last week. The hedge fund guy, she clarifies when I look confused. It didn't work out. The timing of this revelation hits me like a slap. Of course they broke up. Of course she's suddenly back in Marcus's life, needing his help, right when she's single again. Marcus follows me to the door. Please don't go. Not like this. We can work this out. I need time to think, I say, pulling away when he tries to take my hand. I love you, he says desperately. What happened at dinner was a mistake. I got caught up in the past, but you're my present. Am I ask, because it seems like I'm just keeping your bed warm until Simone decides she wants you back. His silence tells me everything I need to know. I'm halfway to my car when I see Jason pulling up. He gets out, takes one look at my face, and opens his trunk. Need help with that? He asks, nodding at my suitcase. What are you doing here? I ask as he takes the bag from my hands. Emma texted me, he admits, said you might need backup. As he loads my suitcase, I glance back at the apartment building. Marcus is standing in the doorway watching us, Simone visible just behind him. They look like they belong together, and maybe they do. Thank you, I say to Jason as we get into our separate cars, for everything. That's what friends are for, he says simply. See you back at Emma's? I nod, grateful for his steady presence, for Emma's spare room, for people who actually make me a priority. As I drive away, I realize I'm not even crying anymore, just feeling strangely hollow, like I've lost something I never really had in the first place. A week at Emma's apartment has given me enough distance to see my relationship with Marcus more clearly, but not enough time to fully prepare for my nursing boards. I'm sitting in the university library with my study group, 5 other nursing students all running on caffeine in desperation, when Megan nudges my arm. Isn't that your boyfriend? She whispers. I look up from my pharmacology flashcards to see Marcus scanning the library, his eyes frantic until they lock on me. My stomach drops. Ex-boyfriend, I correct her quietly, but Marcus is already striding toward our table. We need to talk, he announces, loud enough that people at nearby tables look up from their books. Dr. Chen, our study group leader and pharmacology professor, frowns at the interruption. Sir, we're in the middle of a session. Marcus ignores her, focusing entirely on me. You've been ignoring me for a week. You won't answer my calls or texts. Yes, you're staying with Jason's sister. His voice rises with each statement. What am I supposed to think? Marcus, this isn't the place, I say, acutely aware of my classmates shifting uncomfortably around me. When is the place? He demands. You won't meet me anywhere else. Because I'm studying for boards, I gesture at the textbooks spread across the table. They're in 3 weeks, remember? His face darkens. This isn't about your exam. This is about Jason turning you against me. Jason? I repeat, genuinely confused. What are you talking about? He's always had a thing for you, Marcus says, loud enough that a librarian from the circulation desk starts walking our way. He saw an opportunity and took it. Filled your head with all this crap about me and Simone. Heat rises to my face. Jason didn't tell me anything I couldn't see with my own eyes at Rosewood. That was one dinner, Marcus insists. One mistake. Sir, Dr. Chen interrupts again, standing up. This is a designated quiet study area. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Marcus turns on her. This doesn't concern you. It concerns all of us when you're disrupting our study time. Megan jumps in, surprising me with her defense. The librarian reaches our table. Is there a problem here? No problem, I say, gathering my books. I'll step outside for a minute. Marcus follows me to the library entrance, practically vibrating with tension. Once we're outside, he immediately starts again. I've been going crazy this past week, he says. You just disappeared. I told you I needed space, I remind him, and I've been studying. Some of us don't have the luxury of dropping everything when our exes call. And he winces at that. Can we please just talk somewhere private? Coffee shop down the street? Part of me wants to refuse, to walk back into the library and pretend this conversation never happened. But another part needs closure, needs to hear whatever he has to say so I can finally move on. Fine, I agree, 20 minutes. Might discreet be final and out. The coffee shop is nearly empty mid-afternoon. We sit at a corner table, 2 untouched coffees between us. Marcus looks terrible unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same Northwestern hoodie he had on when I left the apartment a week ago. I miss you, he starts. Marcus. No, please, let me finish. He takes a deep breath. I've been doing a lot of thinking this past week. About us. About Simone. I brace myself for the excuses, the minimizing, the gaslighting, but what comes next surprises me. I'm still in love with her, he says quietly. I think I always have been. The words hang between us, oddly anticlimactic. After a week of anxiety and anger, his confession feels almost like relief. I know, I say simply. He looks up, surprised. You do? I've known for months. Maybe I always knew. I wrap my hands around my coffee cup, seeking its warmth. Every time she called, every time she needed something, I watched you light up in a way you never did for me. That's not true, he protests weakly. I do love you. I knew the clan wetter load. But not enough. I finish for him. Not enough to make me a priority. He stares at his coffee. I didn't plan for any of this to happen. When I met you, I was trying to move on. I thought I was ready, but you weren't. No, he admits. And then when Simone broke up with Ryan, she started calling more, and all those old feelings just came back. Did they ever really leave? I ask. His silence is answer enough. You know what hurts the most? I continue, surprised by my own calmness. Not that you love her, but that you used me as a placeholder until she was available again. That's not mate. It is. I cut him off. I was a Simone replacement, someone to keep you company while you waited for her to come back. He doesn't deny it this time. Instead, he looks down at his hands. She wants to try again, he says finally. With us, me and her. And there it is, the real reason for this conversation. Not to win me back, but to get my permission to leave. Of course she does, I say, a bitter laugh escaping me. Now that hedge fund guy is gone, she needs someone to help her move apartments and hold her hand. It's more than that, Marcus insists. We have history. So did we, I remind him. Or at least, I thought we did. I said in about the finding two and when Helbios. He reaches for my hand across the table, but I pull back before he can touch me. I never meant to hurt you, he says, and I believe him. That's the worst part. He didn't deliberately set out to break my heart. He just never cared enough to protect it in the first place. I know, I say, standing up, but you did anyway. Where are you going? He asks, looking panicked. We're not finished talking. Actually, we are. I gather my bag. I have boards in 3 weeks. I have a future to plan, and none of it includes you anymore. Can we at least? No, I interrupt firmly. We can't be friends. We can't stay in touch. You made your choice at Rosewood when you pulled that chair over for Simone without even looking at me. I walk out of the coffee shop feeling lighter than I have in months, maybe even years. Behind me, I hear Marcus call my name once, but he doesn't follow. He never does when it matters. As I walk back to the library, My phone buzzes with a text from Jason, asterisk, everything okay? Study group said. Some guy was causing trouble, asterisk. I smile slightly and type back, asterisk, all good. Just closing a chapter that should have ended a long time ago. Asterisk. When I rejoin my study group, they all look up expectantly, but no one asks questions. Dr. Chen simply slides my pharmacology notes back in front of me and says, page 237, drug interactions with beta blockers. And just like that, I'm back to studying for my future, a future that suddenly seems wider and more full of possibility than it did this morning. 2 months after the coffee shop confrontation, I'm staring at my phone in disbelief. The email subject line reads, NCLEX RN examination results, pass. I've passed my nursing boards with distinction, scoring in the top percentile. Holy shit, I whisper, sitting cross-legged on Emma's futon. I passed. I immediately call Emma, who's at work in the ER. She answers on the third ring, the familiar hospital chaos in the background. I passed, I practically shout, with distinction. Emma's squeal is so loud I have to pull the phone away from my ear. I knew you would. We're celebrating tonight, no arguments. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes with an incoming text. It's Jason, asterisk, check your front door, asterisk. I pad to the apartment door in my fuzzy socks and open it to find a massive gift basket overflowing with chocolate, wine, and a small teddy bear wearing scrubs. The card reads, asterisk, knew you'd crush it. Never doubted for a second. Celebration dinner tonight? J asterisk. I text him back immediately. Asterisk. Emma already declared we're celebrating. You're invited, obviously. Asterisk. His response comes seconds later. Asterisk. Already coordinated with her. Reservations at Bellini's at 8. Dress fancy. Asterisk. Bellini's. The upscale Italian restaurant that makes Rosewood look like a fast food joint. My heart does a little flip that I immediately try to suppress. Bellini's is all soft lighting and white tablecloths, with a string quartet playing in the corner. When I arrive, I spot Jason waiting outside in a charcoal suit that fits him perfectly. He looks up from his phone and his face transforms when he sees me. Wow, he says simply, taking in my emerald green dress, the one I bought on a whim last week but hadn't had occasion to wear. You look incredible. You clean up pretty well yourself, I reply, trying to ignore the flutter in my chest. Inside, I'm surprised to find not just Emma waiting, but my entire study group as well. They erupt in cheers when they see me, raising champagne glasses that are already half empty. The gang's all here, Jason says, pulling out my chair. Hope you don't mind. They wanted to celebrate properly. Mind? This is amazing. My voice catches slightly as I look around at these people who've become my support system over the past few months. Dr. Chen raises her glass. To our newest registered nurse, the hospital that gets you will be lucky indeed. We clink glasses and I take a sip of champagne that tastes better than any I've had before, maybe because I've earned it. Halfway through the appetizers, Emma leans over. So, heard any news about Marcus and Simone? I hesitate. Should I care? I know I have. Should I care? No, she says firmly, but sometimes closure helps. Jason, overhearing, sets down his fork. If you're wondering, they lasted about 3 weeks. 3 weeks? I repeat, surprised despite myself. Apparently, Jason continues, once Simone realized Marcus would drop everything whenever she called, she lost interest. The thrill was in the chase. How do you know this? I ask. Marcus called me, Jason admits, drunk, about a month ago. Wanted to know if you were seeing anyone. What did you tell him? And it wasn't his business anymore. Jason meets my eyes. Was that okay? More than okay, I assure him, touched by his protectiveness. The conversation shifts to job prospects and hospital applications, but I catch Jason watching me throughout dinner with an expression I can't quite decipher. After dessert, a decadent tiramisu that puts Sweet Remedy's chocolate cake to shame, my friends start drifting away with hugs and congratulations. Emma leaves with Megan, giving me a not-so-subtle wink over her shoulder. Suddenly, it's just Jason and me, lingering over coffee. Thank you for this, I say, gesturing around the restaurant. It's perfect. You deserve it. He pauses, turning his coffee cup slowly. Can I tell you something? Of course. He takes a deep breath. I've had feelings for you for months, before everything with Marcus happened. My heart skips. Jason, I'm not telling you this to pressure you, he says quickly, and I would never have acted on it while you were with him. That's not who I am. I know, I say softly, and now that some time has passed, he meets my eyes directly. I'd like to take you to dinner sometime. A real date. Not a celebration with friends, not a rescue mission from a terrible birthday, just us. I consider his words carefully. I think I'd like that, but I need to be honest. I'm still healing. I need to take things slow. Slow is good, he says, relief washing over his face. I'm not going anywhere. 6 months later, I'm walking through the halls of Memorial Hospital in my new scrubs, still getting used to the weight of the ID badge hanging around my neck. I've been hired onto the cardiac care unit, my first choice placement. I'm heading to the nurse's station when I see a familiar figure standing by the elevators. Marcus. He looks thinner, his hair longer, and he's holding a bouquet of flowers. He notices me at the same moment, his eyes widening in recognition. Hey, he says, shifting awkwardly from one foot to another. Hi, I'm surprised by how neutral I feel seeing him. What brings you here? Simone had her appendix out yesterday, he explains, nodding toward the flowers. Just visiting. That's nice of you. We're not back together, he clarifies quickly. Just friends. Or trying to be. I nod, not really caring either way. You look good, he says, his eyes taking in my scrubs. Happy. I am, and I realize it's true. Between my new job, my growing relationship with Jason, and the confidence I've built these past months, I'm genuinely happy. I messed up, Marcus says suddenly. I realized too late what I had with you, what I threw away. I used to imagine this moment, dream about what I'd say if Marcus ever admitted he was wrong. Now that it's happening, I find I don't need to say much at all. Thank you for saying that, I tell him, but I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. With Jason? He asks, a hint of the old jealousy creeping into his voice. With myself, I correct him. Jason and I are taking things slow, but even if he wasn't in the picture, I wouldn't go back. Marcus nods, looking down at the flowers in his hands. I guess I should go up. Visiting hours end soon. As he steps into the elevator, he holds the door open for a moment. For what it's worth, I am sorry. About your birthday. About everything. I know, I say. And for what it's worth, I'm grateful. Grateful? He repeats, confused. You taught me what it feels like to be someone's second choice. I explain, which means I'll always recognize what it feels like to be someone's first. The elevator doors close on his stunned expression, and I turn back toward the nurse's station, my steps light. I have patients waiting for me, a date with Jason tonight, and a future where I'm nobody's placeholder. I'm the priority.